Hi, everybody. Jack O'Malley with my weekly update on a Wednesday, middle of the week. Last Wednesday of the month. Holy moly. We're heading into November. Cloudy day here in Lansing today. All right, I'm a little tired today. I know some probably don't care, but I'm a little tired. We were in session yesterday until 2 a.m. It was a long day. It was a classic political day where there was a lot of wrangling to get votes. And the bill that was being fought over was short-term rentals. Now, again, this is just an update. I can't go into every, chapter and verse of what we were doing and why we were doing it. But the bill passed. And what this did was it basically said a local community cannot ban short-term rentals, but there are ways that they can zone short-term rentals. And the realtors were on the side for it. The Michigan Municipal League, townships, and others were against it. It was a battle of local control versus personal property. And I voted no, though the bill passed. All right, it did pass. Now it's got to go to the Senate and maybe get governor's signature, so it's not like it's law tomorrow, but it did pass the House. Now, there are a lot of people who were for that bill, a lot of people who were against it. I was against it. It's weird because I am all for property rights, but I'm also for community rights. For example, people, they move into a community. Why do they like it? Well, it's a beautiful place to live. Schools are good, nice parks, whatever the reason is. And I worry, especially in a district like the 101st, that is a vacation paradise. More and more people are purchasing these homes and turning them into short-term rentals because they can make a lot of money. And I'm all for that. Make money. Yahoo! The other issue is we are losing housing stock for our workers, right? Communities, especially small villages, you talk about Ann Arbor or Grand Rapids, it's like, lots of folks, it can absorb more. But, Empire, Frankfurt, Onekama, Free Soil, and so on and so forth. Manistee, Ludington, how much can they absorb? So I wanted to see more of a compromise that would help there. Again, I'm not going to go into a ton of it. I am all for property rights, but I'm also for community rights. And that's where I was hoping to find a spot. But it wasn't to be, hasn't passed, we got to see what happens yet. It isn't law yet, but it did pass. So I will always be fighting to find that middle ground on this issue, because I think that it is reasonable to say that a district like mine, especially the coast along Lake Michigan, we could be victims of our own success. And another issue with this, again, there's so many angles to it, but in some cases, people who don't even live in the region are buying up multiple homes because it's a good investment. Well, again, granted, there's the non-homestead property. I get that. That's good money for a local community. But again, who joins the Optimist Club? Who attends the church? What business is there to potentially donate to a charitable auction? Your community can break down. So it's a complicated issue, lots to discuss. I believe that when it comes to rentals and short-term rentals, this is a 21st century issue that we're still operating and working with 20th century rules. And we almost need to start all over, because this short-term rental is no longer the summer vacation rental on the lake. It has become bigger than that. But until everybody agrees with me, we'll just try and move along where we're at. So that was probably the big story of the last couple of days, is the short-term rental issue. So that's how I voted and why I voted, and where we're at with that. Some updates on things out of Lansing. One of the areas that I've been very critical of and focused on is the UIA, Unemployment Insurance Agency. And one of the things that the Republicans in the legislature have called for was the ouster of the interim director, Lisa Estlin Olson. Well, that happened this week. She was sent back to Office of the State Employer, where she was directing and doing a good job. But Governor Whitmer has named a permanent replacement. Her name is Julia Dale, who recently had been named director of the Michigan Department of Technology Management and Budget. The governor is moving her over to UIA, and hopefully, if she's got any kind of tech background, that's going to help, because the UIA has real technical issues and is a ship adrift. And I wish Julia Dale all the luck in the world. Lots to unpack there. Another area that I know is very personal and very emotional with people that I'll touch base on here. There are several bills out there. I'm not on any of the committees, and I'm still listening and debating. But House Bill 5300 and 5301 are bills that would bring back the caregiver rules in marijuana. Now, this is an interesting one because a couple of years ago, the people of Michigan voted to make cannabis legal. I was not for that bill, but now what I say is it's legal. I'm, fine. We've got the whole cannabis industry growing up and moving out and so on and so forth. And I'll be honest, right now, I think that the cannabis industry has done a very good job of being controlling itself, having stores that are respectable. Some of the complaints that I worried about was what we saw out in Colorado, where head shops were everywhere, and it was done in a really kind of unnice way. Well, in Michigan so far, I think it's been handled well, so I'm happy about that. But these bills would reduce the amount of plants that a caregiver can grow, and they would have to get their marijuana tested. Now, these are the interesting things. We legalized it, and there's a lot of people saying, now, wait a minute here, you can't do this. And I am no cannabis expert, but I know that one plant can create a lot of pot. What these bills would do, as I understand it, is caregivers would go from 72 plants to 24. And it'd have to be tested and that sort of thing. So I'm still looking at these bills, but I will be honest with you. Right now, I'm leaning towards a positive response, because part of the problem with the cannabis is that we have a very large black market in the state of Michigan. That means off the books, and we voted to legalize it and tax it like alcohol. Well, if we aren't controlling that, we aren't controlling it like alcohol. We don't allow, stills out in the backyard. You can't just brew up your home brew without somebody knowing about it, right? And we have very strict laws about alcohol and its sale. So we are in an early stage of being a new marijuana cannabis state, and we're having to adjust. So I understand many of the caregivers aren't real happy about this. Like I said, I haven't voted on it yet because it hasn't come to the floor, but I'm just telling you where I'm at with this right now. I think the 72 plants allows a lot of black market ability to sell. And if we're asking these other folks to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, I was chatting with a company, a grower, and not one of these massive, mega plants, but some businessmen who got together, pooled their resources, and are starting this facility. They've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this right. And if we've got a lot of black market marijuana, that makes it harder to sell legally and tax like alcohol, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, and that's why I'm paying attention. I know that there's probably people screaming at me right now because they're caregivers and they think that's wrong. But right now, as I see this, going from 72 plants to 24 is not necessarily going to cut off your cannabis supply, and you're still going to be able to do things. And you need to get it tested, because we want to make sure that it's good stuff. We don't want anything bad being in there. Why? Because we've now legalized it. And when you do that, there's got to be some rules. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Again, hasn't come up for a vote yet. It's been in committee. I'm just giving you an idea. I am paying attention because I know a lot of people are following on that. Another bill that I want to push, and I will vote yes in Education Committee, Representative Farrington has legislation that would put financial literacy teaching in the high school, and you would get a half credit, and she wants to take that half credit away from foreign language. So instead of 2 years, year and a half would be good, and you would get financial literacy. I think in this day and age of high debt and credit card and student loans, we need to make sure that our young people are prepared to handle their finances moving forward. So I'm for it. And real quick here, I bring this up because you might have seen it in the headlines. On Oversight last week, we had the Eagle in and folks from Benton Harbor to talk about the water issue there because of lead in the pipes and in their drinking water. I bring this up because obviously we want the people of Benton Harbor to be taken care of, and that the issue that we have is, just to put it on your radar, is that many of our older homes, and I think it's anything prior to 1980, doesn't necessarily have to have, but could have lead lines in its service pipes to the house. And over time, that could create a health hazard. So there are already like 10 communities in the state that are having issues with lead. And the question is, how are we going to get those pipes removed and people safe? And, in theory, it's not the municipality lines, it's the lines from the main line to your house. So technically, those are the homeowner's lines. So is it the homeowner's responsibility? Is it the municipality's responsibility to pay for that? Well, it's a huge lift. And this is an issue that I want to put on your radar if you haven't paid. Oh, it was Flint. Oh, it's Benton Harbor. No, it's in a lot of places. And it's an area that we are going to have to deal with in the state of Michigan. And the repair costs, if you will, are huge. So as you're starting to pay attention to the issues of the day, don't just think that it's Benton Harbor, it's Flint, it's some far off land. There are, and I should have the list in front of me, but there are quite a few communities, older communities, and Michigan's been around a while, areas that have this issue. So we've got to figure out how to deal with this. So because lead in the water over time can cause some real serious issues. So that's where we're at with that. Put it on your radar, start paying attention, because it's going to be, how do we do this? And personally, I'd like to get a plan set aside that looks at a long-term fix, as opposed to always having to call out the fire bucket brigade to put out the fire in Benton Harbor, to put out the fire in Flint, to put out the fire in whatever town. Let's say, whoa, let's get smart here, and how do we do this? Sometimes we spend more time figuring out how to react than how to address the problem. So again, no action at this very moment, but I want to put that on your radar as well. All right. I've gone a little over my 10 minutes, but that's an update as what's going on in your state government. So there you go. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, if you live in the 101st, I'm your representative. You can go to repo'Malley.com. All my contact information is there. Cam was telling me one day here, just recently, we responded to 81 different constituents. Another day, 50. So a lot of people do reach out to us. We deal with a lot of incoming questions and concerns, and we get out answers, and we help people. We call them, we talk to them, we deal with the issues that are there. So please contact us if you live in the district, and we can help you. If you don't live in the district, but you still follow these updates, great. But make sure you contact your representative, because they can help you too. All right? Have a good evening. We'll talk to you next week in November. Oh my gosh.